Good afternoon, participants from India, and good morning to Mr. Ren and Steffi, who have joined with us from UK and Qatar, respectively. This is our second webinar on this knowledge sharing platform, and on behalf of Indian School of Commerce, it's my honor to invite the panelist, moderator, alumni, and the participants to this session on how the future looks bright for accounting majors. Our panelists are Mr. Nidhesh Singh, who will be joining with us any moment. He is a Vice President, 𝐁𝐫 𝐿. Mr. Nidhesh is a Chartered Accountant and a member of ACCA, CISI, and Institute of Directors. He is also certified in Change and Risk Management, IFRS, and Data Science. Mr. Nidhesh has 15 years of experience in finance, fund accounting, and investment banking. He has worked in several leadership positions in JP Morgan, SSNC, Global, and Citibank. Welcome. I'm welcoming Mr. Nidhesh so that once he joins. Our next panelist is Mr. 𝐿𝐭𝐿 𝐿𝐿. He is the Director Operations, LevTech Consulting Services India Private Limited. Mr. 𝐿𝐭𝐿 𝐿𝐿, a qualified chartered accountant and a cost accountant, and has around 20 years of experience in ERP and accounting, sales, requirement analysis, and implementation. Mr. 𝐿𝐭𝐿 is a part of the core team that founded LevTech Consulting with his forte in domains like finance, trade and logistics, retail, production, and manufacturing. Mr. 𝐿𝐭𝐿 heads the operations for India, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, besides being a part of strategies and growth of LevTech. Welcome, Mr. 𝐿𝐭𝐿. Mr. Ranjit Verma, Head Partnership Emerging Markets, ACCA. Mr. Ranjit joined ACCA as a Head of Partnership for Emerging Markets with about 16 years of business experience in the UK and India, 12 of which have been in the education sector in the UK and international. He is a passionate professional with experience in both private and public sector organizations, and an accomplished international business leader with a sound business sense proven by leading and nurturing international teams and projects across the globe. Welcome, Mr. Ranjit. Mr. Saravana Kumar, Head of South India, SCCA. Mr. Saravana comes with about 18 years of experience in the Ministry of Defense, Government of India, with diverse experience in various domains like IT information, security, education, skill development, legal consulting, corporate learning and development. Working with corporates in global organizations, business partners, academic institutions, and other stakeholders to meet the business demands in India and abroad in ASEAN region and Middle East. Welcome, Mr. Saravana. Its image is blurred. Okay. We have a moderator, Mr. Milind Datte, Director of Learning and Development, ISDC, a renowned strategist, management expert, and a trainer with a rich blend of industry experience of 25 years and 10 years in training. Mr. Milind is associated with Indian and MNC brands, MNCs in India and abroad at CXO levels, and his forte being accounting and finance, cost management, strategic management, and ERP. Welcome, Milind, sir. We also have with us alumni Muhammad Ramzi, who works with McKinsey & Company after completing his MBA in International Business and Finance with ACCA from ISE. Steffi Ann, who works with EY Qatar as Assurance Audit Associate after completing her MBA in International Business and Finance with ACCA from ISE. Rohan Philip Thomas, who works with Grant Thornton, Chennai as Statutory Audit Associate after completing his MBA in International Business and Finance with ACCA from ISE, and Sandeep, who works with LevTech Consulting as Associate Functional Consultant after completing his MBA with ISE. So, and we also have about 1,000 students who have joined with us as participants. Welcome all. Handing over the session to the moderator, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bindu, for that kind introduction and opening the session. Welcome everyone on board. With warm hearts, all the panel members, all the ISE alumni, and Bindu, along with hundreds and thousands of attendees to this webinar. Now, obviously, the moot question is embedded in the theme of this webinar. And the question is, how does the future look for accounting major professionals? First of all, when we talk about future, how does it look like? Is it a bright future, or is it all like a doomsday caused amidst the COVID-19 scenario? We have a lot of views views here too, and I'm sure that the inspired thought processes by the panel members would do a long way in all the participants gaining fantastic knowledge from today's session. Well, I mean, when we talk about future for people who are accounting professionals, what I'll do is I'll just invite the honorable panelists some of their opening thoughts before we could dive deep into today's main theme as such. So why don't you take just a couple of minutes to give your opening remarks? I hand over first to Mr. Kaushik Mahadevan. Mr. Kaushik, for your opening remarks.
Thanks, Milind. Thanks, ISC, for first of all giving us this opportunity, and thanks, Bindu ma'am, for that lovely introduction. I'm sure you have actually put in your heart and soul, on to bringing all the elite panelists as well as the students community, and then I'm sure you're actually also encountering a lot of questions from the students fraternity at large in terms of what the situation is all about. I think as Milind said, I think there are two perspectives. How you can look at, as far as the current situation is concerned. There is one thought process which says that, you get bogged down and say that, there is nothing that we can do actually, from here. It's like, from here on, it can only go probably further down south or even probably say that, it might even go a little more negative. And then there is another optimistic view as far as the current situation is concerned. If you look at, the past trends, anybody who looks at the past recessionary trends, I think every 10 years you have this situation. Sometimes you call it as a Gulf War recession. Sometimes you call, let's say, a Great Recession of 2008, 2009, which actually set in. And then, now these days you are actually, surrounded by this pandemic, which everybody's hoping to actually, get through with once we have the vaccine in place. But I think it is just an industry correction. All of us, we need to understand that, at the end of it, everything goes, not everything is a plateau. Things that then you have, probably an upward curve, which the industry actually, takes. So I think, in my perspective, I come with a very huge optimistic belief that, good times are actually, just lying, and probably around the corner. And it's just a matter of time, where we actually, if we are able to subside this current times, I think, probably a country like India and having a nationwide of actually people who are actually averaging about 25 to 27 years of age, I think we are actually poised to probably look at great developments. I think there's a lot of innovation, there are a lot of strategies, there are a lot of reinvention. Business models are actually undergoing a change as we speak right now. There's a lot of agility. When we say agility, there are a lot of thought leaders who are actually coming out in the market, disrupting the whole way how we actually do business. Because if you look at even people like Swiggy, you look people like let's say Zomato, or even for that matter Big Basket. Big Basket, I'm given to understand even in these pandemic times, they have their order processing mechanism was so astute that they actually delivered order after order without actually failing, even when the labor was not, probably was really hard to actually come by. So I would come with a lot of optimistic approach, and I think being an accountant, we are all accountants over here. So the biggest plus that we bring to the table as far as accountants are actually concerned is the fact that we understand processes, we understand industries, we know how accounting works. One of my mentors, he used to actually tell me that an organization can actually run without a CEO or probably even a sales guy, but you can never have a situation where an organization can be run without a CFO or an accountant for that matter. So I'm pretty optimistic about the things to come. I probably have let's say the others to probably share the thoughts as well as we move along, and then we share and exchange more insights on this.
Oh, great, Kaushik. Thank you very much for those, reassuring kind of, optimist attitude. And I concur with you, because I am also a firm believer that chips can't be down for so long.
Absolutely.
Things now will have to go up. And let me tell you that if you look around in the world, so far as India is concerned, there is quite a bit of an optimism in terms of development.
True.
IMF has put, in fact, India as one of very few countries who would show a kind of a positive GDP growth in the next year, and that is something which I think the budding professionals should be able to catch in their radar and move accordingly. So I definitely believe whatever goes down.
If I may interrupt, Milind, just one thing to add to that. See, there are, even countries like, let's say, most of the developed countries like USA, these days are actually finding it very difficult to survive, because on one side, you have the businesses that still needs to be run. But on the other side, you have a waging costs, which is actually, denting their whole functional mechanism, So in a way, what is going to happen in the short term, if we are able to actually overcome this short-term situation, from a long-term point of view, there will be a lot of jobs, there will be a lot of actually, work which is going to get offloaded to India. The whole world is actually looking at India with a different perspective altogether. In my opinion, I think the opportunities are immense. It only, probably lies with us in how we are able to lunge onto these opportunities, how we are able to reinvent ourselves, re-innovate, be agile about, when the thought processes, and then seize opportunities which actually comes our way. And I think India, with the exciting set of actually young people that we have, I'm pretty sure we are poised for bigger things in life.
Yes, sure. I think let us now hear from Ren as to what does he feel about, especially because the professionals that Ren's institution, that is ACCA, is churning out, every year into the market. And these people generally are going to, take places into entry-level jobs. Sure. How does the situation for them look like, Ren? And followed by him, I would request even Saravana to say something on that. How the entry-level jobs you can see. I can see there are a lot of job inquiries that come to your your portal every day. But what is the feeling that you want to send as a signal out to aspiring accounting majors? Ren, please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Milind. It was very interesting listening to Kaushik, and I do agree with Kaushik's view that the future is bright, especially. In fact, I would say that these are unprecedented times, and initially, as the COVID pandemic hit, organizations did struggle, especially with the restrictions, lockdown, etc., when movement of the people were restricted. But it has also underscored the importance of preemptive crisis planning by organizations, and which may manifest through investment in new technologies and establishing reliable business continuity protocols. And what I feel is that to stay relevant in a post-COVID world, the Indian accounting firms, organizations need to adopt to a range of measures to build on its existing strengths and deliver high levels of performance at a very lower cost to retain its customers and everything. So despite I do agree, despite there is a current pressure on cash flow. So, however, it is important that they make significant investments in automation tools, infrastructure, people as well. So, in my view, the opportunities for especially the Indian youth are immense when it comes to a new normal or post-COVID. One of the key things that we need to ensure is that they have the right or relevant skills that employers are looking for, in the new normal. So and the onus is on each one of us. from an academic perspective, ACCA, ISTC, and even the initiatives taken by Kaushik and his team to upskill, to impart that importance of getting skills. That's quite important. And however, I would like to say that the future is looking very much bright, and there would be a lot of opportunities. And a lot of these entry-level jobs would be actually moving from, US, Europe. A lot of outsourcing is going to happen. A lot of these organizations, in order to cut costs, would be moving their work to India. So that opens up a lot of opportunities as well. Thank you.
Well, apparently it's very clear that we are sharing a common thought, all of us here, and which is a good sign, in fact. And that seems to be the reality check that we are running on the current scenario, which all of us believe that although it's a bit of a shock in the short run, but pretty soon things will start moving. I mean, world cannot remain stagnated the way we see at it now. Saravana Kumar, what are your thoughts on this, topic of emerging opportunities so far as Indian accounting professionals are concerned?
And in fact, are you able to hear me, Mr. Milan?
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Thank you. I just to add what Mr. Kaushik and Mr. Ren has said. Yes, the entire world, we are currently witnessing an unprecedented scenario due to this advent of COVID. The global economies have subjected themselves to a lockdown. What we saw as a medical or a health issue is now crippling up the economies, and its magnitude of the impact on financial challenges is becoming day by day bigger. But the good thing is what we have seen, as you rightly touched upon the jobs, while we engage with corporates and other global organizations. One thing is organizations have started to plan appropriately and redraw their structure, and just to plan the way how we can work these challenges. And actually, COVID in additional into economic catastrophe is now changing. Organizations have ensured we have found alternate paths. So still we are coming up with opportunities. That's the reason why we are still having the every week or a daily basis we are getting these job postings. So the opportunity now through this challenge is immense. Actually, this is not a challenge. In fact, it has given us a lot of opportunities. A couple of things which we can realize is whatever we felt that we are not technical, we are not IT savvy, that has broken now. Everybody are using IT and technology to the maximum, and organizations are looking for the upcoming new graduates to have the IT skills to make them be more efficient. And in fact, recently one of the big four just gave their offer letter to virtually starting their jobs. And virtual internships have been started by some of the global MNC banks. And these are the signs how, even though we have faced a challenge due to COVID, how as a mankind, how we have globally have been responding, and especially India. As Mr. Kaushik rightly said, the kind of jobs which are coming up from some of the global large big four auditing firms, the volumes are big. For example, yesterday, from one of the big four consulting firms, we have had around 400 job postings for 3 different locations. These are something, the messaging which we are getting while we work with the large corporates in terms of the new opportunities which are evolving, and the younger generation students or graduates who are studying now are not required to worry about anything. See these opportunities and just be agile and expertise themselves, develop themselves with the required skills that what the corporates are looking for.
Absolutely. I think, the kind of jobs that are being churned out, even in this period of slow growth or stagnation, as one may call it, that further reassures that, things are not fundamentally bad. Okay, they might have got hit due to this pandemic, but fundamentals, the undercurrent is still very, very strong. And if you therefore see even the barometer of the economic activity, which is the stock exchanges, the gold prices, the automobile sales, all the fundamental indicators are definitely looking up if you look at the last 1 month or so. And this is even amidst the fact that the number of COVID affectees is still not under fully control. But the corporates, the professionals, the companies, they have started to learn to live with these negatives. And that's a good sign for the entire world. I think there will be a lot of, doubt in the minds of the participants as to, okay, fine. I mean, on one hand, we see that there are good opportunities to be seen on the horizon as we continue our learning process. Secondly, we are also trying to get, the fundamental knowledge, which is about our technical domain, accounting, finance, costing, etc. But the third dimension, which is now required as a mandatory for everyone, is the dimension of technology. And towards that, I think how these skills are going to be merged together and how the different stakeholders are going to play their role in an important way, like academicians, even the corporates, and even the candidates themselves, because some responsibility lies on them as well to upskill themselves. I would like to now invite Mr. Kaushik to sort of give his views on the entire scenario, and through his presentation, I think he will open up quite a few points for further discussion. So, Mr. Kaushik, if you can come up with your presentation, please.
Yeah, and I'll just share my screen, Milind, just let me know if you're able to.
And in the interest of time, I would request you to be mindful of that. That's it.
Sure. How much time do I have, Milind?
About 10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we can see this slide, yeah.
You are able to see this, right?
Yes,
right.
yes.
So I think, as you rightly said, Milind, I think, there's a lot of, in my opinion, I think most of us know, what needs to be done. It's only about, probably aligning your perceptions to the reality and ensure that, you are actually basically, putting a plan in place and then acting on it. That's about it. The current trend, if you look at it right now, I think there are a lot of organizations, who have been actually resorting to technologies. The focus was always on, systems like ERP, supply chain management, analytics, lean management, and so on. But right now, you will be also bamboozled with the fact that, in the last quarter, there has been an upsurge in terms of investments, as far as these technologies are actually concerned. People actually keep listening to it. People keep hearing about, these jargons. But at the end of it, it is now that, bigger organizations, mid-sized organizations, they have kind of actually understood the importance of, what each of these technologies bring to the table. Now, the other thing is, that a lot of actually, these thought leaders, the senior management team members, they have actually come onto the board. They have basically redrawn their strategies. They have kind of actually, relooked at their business models, reinvented, and come back with a renowned vigor and say that, this is what we need to do. Because at the end of it, the show has to go on. You can't have a situation where you say that, because of, let's say, a certain situation like what we have now, it's not that, the whole world is going to come to a standstill. You or me may not be there tomorrow, but, at the end of it, the organizations need to run. People have to be taken care of. And at the end of it, let's say the supply demand, the whole economic reforms needs to be actually adhered to as far as the industry spectrum is actually concerned. So innovation is the key differentiator. I think, a lot of digital transformation, there are a lot of tools and technologies with a lot of emphasis right now, that is getting laid on, let's say, work from home. The whole emphasis right now, what we are looking at is actually, more towards, how best we are able to reform, how best we are able to refine, how best we are actually able to empower people and ensure that, these guys are actually, able to work from wherever they are, however remote they are. So connectivity is going to be a huge thing, and I'm pretty sure by now people have actually heard about, Geo Teams as well. Geo has recently launched, something very similar to what, let's say we have, as far as Teams and Zoom is actually concerned. Now, the whole concept of Make in India, the whole concept of reinventing, and the whole concept of which the country is actually working towards being Atmanirbhar, or what the whole government direction is. I think we are, the path is actually well paved out. And I also come from a thought process that, Milind, very honestly, you and me will have to worry about jobs, not the youth. Because, you and me have experience, but at the end of it, the youth always embraces technology, much more as compared to, what you and me can. And that's a fact, because at the end of it, today, I mean, can you actually go on to newer technologies and probably operate in a similar speed or similar flair with which, your kids actually operate? The answer is no. My 9-year-old son, he actually, comes to me and he basically teaches me newer things, on iPads, on mobility, on phones and other stuff. And I think these kids are actually, much more informed as compared to what we are. At the end of it, we definitely bring probably experience to the table, but at the end of it, the youth has got, years actually ahead, and they will embrace technology. They will embrace, let's say, new learnings, which actually is coming their way. And I think the students of ACCA are very well poised to actually, embrace that in line with the curriculum, because I've had a quick look on the curriculum as well. I think it is very, very market ready. It is very market friendly, and it is very something, which is very practical in line with, what we are actually, facing in the current trends and scenario. Now, some of the industries which I think, is going to go, or probably which will have a huge, which will undergo a huge remodeling or a change of sorts, or probably there will be, newer names which you'll actually hear in the current situation, is actually, let's say, your wallets, your digital payments, the whole cloud computing model. I'm not sure, how much of cloud computing does this audience actually understand, but cloud computing is actually here to stay. There are a lot of actually organizations investing, wherein, everything is actually, being put onto the cloud. The things that you don't need, you don't really have to probably invest in a local premises. It can always be fetched on demand whenever you want. You can just go and fetch in the cloud. Gmail is a classic example. And again, today, Microsoft Azure, from a corporate point of view, is actually doing its bit in terms of, making Azure very user-friendly, making Azure easily accessible, and where, the corporates are able to do their business seamlessly. Healthcare, I don't need to reiterate, because I think health was something, as far as India was concerned, was a big neglected segment. But now with the current situation, I think, people will actually give a lot of importance to health and healthcare. And there are a lot of actually, disruptions that has already happened because of this pandemic right now. And because of this situation, you also have something like an insurance, which definitely, will actually, undergo a huge change. Now, insurance till date, we only look at them as somebody, who provides insurance to people. But now, actually, we are also looking at them as a service providers. Now, insurance also, these days are actually going one step ahead, giving out insurance loans, bridging the whole gaps between, let's say, the patients to the doctors to the medical fraternity. So I think there is a huge change which is actually bound to happen in all of this. E-commerce, again, e-commerce and cybersecurity. I mean, these are two industry segments which I think in the coming days you will hear a lot about. Till now, the focus has always been on a B2C model, but I think in the coming days there will be a business-to-business modeling as well, because very recently I saw that a lot of large MNCs have actually started procuring things on behalf of the employees. Going to portals like Swiggy, going to portals like BigBasket, going to portals like any other known portals that you have these days. These guys actually go and then probably do bulk buying on behalf of the employees. So there is a big sea change. There is a big disruption which is actually happening with the way we were actually looking at businesses, and that is going to be further disruption in the coming months, quarters, and coming years to stay. Similarly, e-education. I think you guys are doing your bit in terms of organizing virtual programs these days. Even organizations like Harvard, which was giving out their virtual programs earlier, which was a minuscule as a part of their offering. These days, they are giving their full-time programs as a virtual offering, for 1/3 of the cost that we used to look at actually, earlier. So there is a huge change which is actually, happening. And in all of this, if you see, if businesses are going to prosper, they can't do without an accountant. They can't do without actually CFOs. They can't do without account executives. Now, again, at the end of it, it is the accountants, and I take a lot of pride in that, because back when I qualified, I think there was a .com bubble which actually happened. There was a whole Y2K rejuvenation that kind of actually happened, but eventually it actually drained out. And then .com, we know, what exactly happened, and the whole GDP actually plummeting during that time. Now, accountants were in demand back then, because there was a lot of audits, there was a lot of procedures. Then came the Sarbanes-Oxley Act in terms of what needs to be done as far as software and the adherence is actually concerned. So with every recession, I would see that things, as you rightly said, Milind, sometime back, things that actually go down have to actually come up at some point of time. All of us, we just need to wait and watch and see that good things are here to come. The only thing is, in the meantime, we just need to ensure that we have our heads bogged down, understand, realign our strategies individually, align our strategies with the organizations that if at all we are working with, and then take whatever actually comes our way. That would be messaging. I'm not sure if this can go to the next slide because it is not moving. Can you see the next slide, which talks about what can the budding accountant actually? I think somebody else is operating these slides actually as I talk. Maybe it's not aligned with what I'm actually talking about. But nevertheless, I think.
But we can see that budding accounting professionals slide now.
Sounds good. So one thing which probably amongst a few things that I would want to tell, let's say the audience over here, is the fact that you need to understand what is happening. You need to match your objectives with the reality that is actually probably happening in the market. You need to be updated. You need to read. You need to understand. You need to see. You need to witness some numbers. Now, consciously, I have not put some numbers over here because I know numbers can at times be a little boring. I don't want to give you that whole GDP talk and say that this is where we were and this is where we are and this is where we are going towards to. But at the end of it, I feel that as an individual, all of us have a role to play. Now, if you want to actually flourish, if you want to be that disruptor, then you need to have it in you to actually go and disrupt in the market. And the only way that you can do right now, if you look at the point number 2 and 3, which we are talking about being adaptive and basically focus, having a big technology and upskill your whole skill sets, your whole mechanisms in terms of what comes your way. Because very recently, I actually came across a candidate, who was good, but probably he didn't match our expectations in terms of what we are looking at. What he did? He actually offered. Eventually, he came back and he says that look, the next 6 months, I don't think I'm going to get anything. As far as this market is concerned, there are a lot of people who are not looking at, let's say, an absolute pressure. Would it be possible for you to keep giving me assignments and I can probably work with you free of cost? What appealed to me was the fact that he being adaptive to the situation, at the end of it, 6 months down time, you can still keep saying no to anything which is coming your way because one, it might not actually pay you. Second, it might not be the role that you are actually looking at. But at the end of it, let's say from today, let's say 31st of December, you would have gained 6 months of experience. You would have gained 6 months of actually know-how which you didn't know earlier. What exactly that was. So I think nothing eventually probably compensates work experience. And at the end of it, whatever comes your way, along with the upskill that we have been actually harping about right throughout these sessions, I think you need to lunge onto it and ensure that you see what best can be actually coming out of it. Again, I always have actually believed you adopt the RPR strategy, which is actually be resilient, be perseverant, and you need to find ways to rejuvenate yourselves because at the end of it, the current situation can always be taxing. It can be mentally a little, probably a very negative mindset, right now sitting in 4 walls and then probably not being able to, come out of wherever you are right now. But I think the whole essence is never to give up. You are in the right state, you are in the right position right now. It is only a matter of time that if we subside this next 2 quarters, I think there are bigger things which is actually already coming. And again, mind you, the other thing, although on one side I'm telling you that probably as a fresher people will not look at you. There are companies who are actually laying off experienced people. What they're doing at the end of it, they're saying that let's say, hey, we don't need this amount of experience, we don't need this kind of seniority. What they are thought process is, they're actually creating a bench of people because at the cost of one senior person, they're able to get about 4 or 5 youth amongst their team. That's a huge, and it is not a story. You can go Google it out. You can see which organization that I'm actually talking about. There are organizations who are actually adopting to the strategy as well, and which is why, as I said earlier, I think Ren, Milind, as well as me, we should be very wary. We might lose our jobs to youths, probably any point of time. At the end of it, you take care of yourselves, and I don't think life is meant to be taken too seriously. Be aware about what is happening around you. That is definitely yes, but at the end of it, staying positive is it. And one of my friends, when I was actually talking about this in the morning, I was just telling that this is what I'm actually doing. This is why don't you actually do something actually which they can relate to. So I think in line with what that suggestion was. In my opinion, it's not always about debit what comes in and credit what goes out. I think it is always about, right now the situation is debit, the whole, all of your learnings and technologies in, credit, the pandemic and recession out. I think that is what your your mantra should be, and I think that is what the takeaway should be as far as this session is actually concerned. I think more or less I've made my point. What I had to talk about, Milind. Over to you. In case you have any questions for me, I'm happy to probably take those.
Yeah, that was fantastic, Kaushik. Taking a cue from that, I would now like to rope in some young guns to actually understand from them as to what do they feel regarding the points that you have come up with. So I would like to invite Rohan first. And Rohan, would you like to throw some light on as to how you are coping up with these new challenges in your first job as such? What are your views and what is your feeling about the whole thing? Rohan.
Thank you so much, sir. So it's been nearly a month and a half, and considering the economy, considering the markets that we are facing right now, the current situation with many people not being able to be employed, it's by far, I can say, by luck and by God's grace that I got a job. I'm thankful to ISC for providing me the educational qualification and all of the benefits that I've received from them, and that is one of the many reasons. But I've understood that people who hold equal or if not higher educational qualification and work experience have now remained unemployed or hold no chance of gaining any form of employment because the markets are not doing so well. So in certain aspects like that, I've discussed about this with fellow colleagues of myself. They were also mentioning the same fact. Now we need to look strictly on certain aspects, like when we are recruiting new people, they need to have certain skill sets. Most basic is the operation of MS Office, like Excel, Word, PowerPoint, the knowledge of understanding the shortcut keys and all of those. That at minimum, if they know that, that's well and good. That cuts the workload easily by about half of it. Because all of these organizations, all individual organizations have their own software. All of them have their own ERP portal through which they function, through which they operate their day-to-day work. So understanding that and functioning according to that takes about a month's time. But even the employers expect somewhat from the employees. And now, since it's a work-from-home option, training for them is an even bigger task. So if I were to say, because I learned it the hard way, for any of the new recruits, the time that you have, the time that we have right now is fantastic, because now you get to learn a lot online, many of them for free. So even as people who are recruiting can make suggestions to those who are interested in joining. Please take this time right now to learn this by yourself. Once when you're done, once when you get a sufficiently good score, then you're good enough to join our company. Is my humble suggestion. Members of the dais can retort in any way that you'd like to.
No, I think it's a very good way to put it at, this is the best time, in fact, when the chips are down, go back to basics and hone your skills. As if I may put it in the language of cricket, okay, it's a day where you can, or these are the days where you should do a lot of shadow practice and improve your skills of the type of the skills those are, wanted by an organization of a modern era. And technology is definitely one thing which you have harped on. Apart from the other names which Kaushik had mentioned in his presentation, I think Microsoft Office tools is one of the very, very fundamental, skill which is lacked even in professionals.
True.
So I think that's a great, message that needs to go across to the budding accounting majors of the day. Sandeep, Rohan mentioned something about the training, and some time ago, I think Kaushik, you and me were speaking on, the kind of training that you are undergoing at the moment in this pandemic period. So, what are your views on that?
See, hi, Milind. Thank you. I'll be brief. So, in my short career, what I've understood about consulting is that you need to have an understanding of client's pain area and provide solutions. So to do that, we need to have an understanding of client nature of business, industry knowledge, IFRS, all that. And right now we are going through a dynamic transformation. So we need to equip our clients with ability to compete nationally and internationally. So we need to leverage our deliverables with technology, technology such as cloud, ERP, Power BI, SharePoint, like that. So we are doing a lot of collaboration virtually, and to do that we need technology. And future accountants really need to sharpen their soft skills and this or this Power BI, Power Automate, Flow, like that, because otherwise we can't stay relevant. That is my perception. And documentation and this email communication also great value during this time, because you're not seeing the person at the next end of your team. So a lot of communication happens through email. So you need to be able to convey the right message through the emails and your documentation and all, because that has a certain value. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you have touched upon two very critical points, I think, which are going to be really important in this discussion. One is obviously the soft skill part of it, which can't be taught actually. These are the skills which one will have to nurture by experiencing it as such. So that's a very good point that you have stressed upon. And the second point was related to, the industry knowledge, what you specified as. I would use the phrase commercial acumen. If you get this commercial awareness about different types of industries, the way they get revenues, the way they organize themselves, the way they raise the competency levels, the way they, build resources which make them and, let them stay relevant in any contemporary market. These are the two very good takeaways from your thought process, and therefore I would now like to bring in the perspective which is from academic angle, and would like to go back to Ren before I talk to the other alumni of ISC. Ren, I mean, these are the things which Kaushik also stressed on. And what Sandeep and Rohan also spoke about. What is the way in which ACCA is helping these students through, modules like ethics and professional skills, through, various ways in which they are training their tutors also. So how is ACCA contributing in a way to make these things very positive for the students as well as industry? Ren, unmute yourself, please.
Yeah. Ren, I think you're muted.
Yeah, just can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We can.
Thank you, Milind, and it was very interesting to listen to Kaushik and also Sandeep and Rohan. One of the key messages that came out was like, you need to upskill yourself, you need to stay relevant, etc. So I just like to, before I start, I just wanted to give you some stats about the high education landscape and the skills gap in India. So India has got one of the largest educational systems in the world, which is comparable to China. So India has got over 1.5 million schools, and every year it is estimated that nearly 240 to 250 million students complete their higher secondary education and go on to pursue a degree or a professional qualification in a university or so it is estimated that when it comes to finance and accounting streams, it is estimated that nearly 18% of the 28 million students go on to pursue a degree in commerce, accounting, or a related stream. And we know that nearly 60% of the graduates in the country do not have the relevant skills that employers are looking for. And True. When it comes to accounting and finance, it's quite scary. only 2.59% of commerce or accounting graduates are considered employable in accounting or finance function. So that's a huge skills gap. It's quite worrying as well. And a degree is no longer enough to secure a job. As Sandeep was saying, Rohan was saying, employers are looking for graduates who can prove that they have got good technical skills. But at the same time, soft skills also plays a major part, like communication skills, advanced digital literacy, strong team working abilities, as well as relevant work experience. Government of India through the Skill India campaign, National Skills Policy, are trying to address this gap, and they've got a plan to train around 500 million people by 2022. However, the challenge here again is that the current capacity for skill development programs in the country is only 3.1 million, or round about that. And employers are expecting employees that can add value from day one. And when it comes to the finance arena, professionals that have a broad range of capabilities, from supporting business to managing risk, developing growth strategies, and providing financial insight, and also managing stakeholder relationships. And of course, ensuring that all of these skills come with strong ethics and professional judgment. This would allow the youngsters to access many more job opportunities than ever before. And as Sandeep was saying, employers also expect finance leaders not only to have technical skills and ensure that the numbers are right and correctly reported, but also communicate, present, and work in partnership with others, building soft and leadership skills that as professional finance as professional accountants, it'll give you access to a lot more opportunities beyond accounting and finance. Now, if you look at it, more than 50% of C-suite professionals come from a finance background. So ACCA, that's where ACCA, ISTC come into the picture. So just to briefly give an overview of ACCA, we are a global accountancy body established in the UK in 1904. We've got more than 2.2 lakh members and over 6 lakh students spread across 180 countries. So we actually will be with the students throughout the career, supporting ISTC as the education provider to complete the qualification by providing the resources that not only allows the students to pass the ACCA exams, but showcase the competencies that the students would be acquiring as part of the qualification. So ACCA is a complete financial qualification that can provide access to a wide range of opportunities and sectors, both because of the skills that you gain with ACCA and network that ACCA has got globally. One of the key takeaways from Kaushik's speech was, he was saying that presentation was that it is important that you stay relevant. ACCA has always ensured that our qualification is market relevant. So we have done in-depth research and continues to do so amongst employers and C-suite professionals from across the globe to identify what are the key competencies or the technical knowledge and measurable skills that lies behind the competent performance and describes what people bring to a job role. So this competency framework is used to develop our qualification to ensure that ACCA remains market relevant. And also we strive to strengthen and support the profession as a whole, in addition to supporting the career development of finance professionals within the workplace. Students actually gain these 12 competencies by completing the ACCA qualification through a combination of exams, experience, and ethics. So to become a fully professionally qualified accountant and finance professional, students will have to also undertake a 3 years of experience. And ACCA is constantly working with employers to ensure that they are aware of the value that ACCA brings to the organization. So employers like Levtech, EY, KPMG, the Big Four multinationals, and many others are eagerly waiting for candidates who have the ACC qualification. And now we are going through unprecedented times. There are challenges, but on a weekly or a daily basis, we are getting so many requirements from employers. So both ISTC and ACCA have the aim of ensuring that students, the India's future finance leaders, and have the expertise and professionalism equal to their international counterparts. Thank you, Milan.
Thank you very much, Rain, for those important but still positive words. Let us now hear from Steffi Ann. Steffi has been the alumni of ISC, and she has started working for one of the big fours. Steffi, what do you have to say about? Of course, because you're professionally qualified, you have all the technical skills in place. But how do you feel in your first job, the soft skills play an important part? What is your view on that, Steffi? Hello?
Hello, Steffi.
Hello, Steffi, can you hear us? I think in the interest of time, I will go back to her a little late. Mr. Mohammed Ramzi, how would you like to share your experiences so far as the importance of the combination of technical skills and soft skills when it comes to applying them to your place of work? Mr. Ramzi? I think his video is on, but...
Yeah, right. Ramzi, can you hear us?
No, I think the audio seems to have been lost.
Yeah, right.
So Steffi and Ramzi will come back to you a bit later. Kaushik, one point which was lingering in my mind ever since we started our discussion today, and that was regarding, one of the very important pitfalls of corporate life, and that is stress management. And especially when it comes to new entrants. Of course, this with experience, people like you, me, Ren, learn how to manage stress on the job. But for these new kids who have no clue of managing stress while still building your case for a good career in your life. So how would you talk about stress management, number one, and second, in today's world of working offline, remote working, how would you place importance on the work-life balance or life-work balance, I would say? So these are the 2 points: stress management and work-life balance. Mr. Kaushik. Mr. Kaushik, can you hear us?
Same. I think it's the same with Ramzi. It's freeze. Ramzi, are you back?
Hello? Ramzi, can you hear us? No, again, it is frozen. Have we lost Kaushik?
Yeah, I guess so.
So maybe he's trying to rejoin. That's the best way, actually. Ramzi and Steffi are also advised to rejoin. Just log out and log in again. Is Saravana there?
You don't see him too. You don't see him too.
Okay, till the time they come back, I would request Ren to talk about these two points that I raised. Ren, the stress management and the work-life balance or life-work balance. Now that most of the people are required to get this new skill of remote working. Your views on that, please, Ren. Unmute yourself. Ren, unmute yourself, please. Unmute.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So again, these are very relevant. That's a very relevant question, especially in this current time. So obviously, the COVID pandemic, lockdown, etc., have naturally resulted in business disruptions across India, not just India, everywhere. And so a lot of the organizations, to ensure business continuity and fulfillment of key customer agreements, have moved to remote working model, with as much as 70% of the workforce moving or working from home. So the challenge here is that you need to reframe I'm stuck inside attitude to I can finally focus on my home and myself. It's important that people stay as close to your normal routine as possible. For example, you need to have a clear routine. It's not like, okay, since you're working from home, you log into your computer at 7 a.m. in the morning and work till 7 in the evening without moving or without taking breaks. That's not good for your health, and it would cause stress, and it's not good for your work-life balance. So a schedule always creates boundaries to define your working day. And it doesn't have to be regular office hours, but it's important that you take timely breaks to ensure that you get adequate rest in between. And then it's important that maximizing your outdoor elements. If you're not allowed to go outside, it's important that you do some kind of exercises. Ensure that you get kind of exercise, your body is fit, healthy, and you need to learn to switch off. That's quite important as well. The challenge that we are facing is that from morning till evening, every day, throughout the week, throughout the month, you are staying at home, and it's difficult to switch off. So how to demarcate between weekend and weekdays. It's becoming a thin line. So it's important that you have these very clear routine, and you need to learn to switch off. And it might sound like, you need to have a food rule as well. You need to ensure that you, have nutritious food as well, and always schedule some social calls, grab some fresh air. So these are some of the areas that you need to focus on to ensure that there is proper work-life balance. Ignoring this would not help at all. And it's important that as soon as you switch on the TV, there's this endless coronavirus coverage. Avoid obsessing over this endless coverage, and it's important that start a new quarantine ritual, start a hobby, start doing upskilling yourself. Use this as a time to upskill, learn new stuff, and if you're feeling challenged, I mean, if you are feeling some kind of issue, I mean, challenges or issues, I mean, it's good to have a social call with your friend, or even a telehealth, a telephonic call to talk to a professional, share your anxieties. So these are quite important to ensure that, like, I mean, you manage your stress, you manage your anxiety, and there is proper work-life balance.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you. I mean, sorry, Kaushik. In fact,
I heard that question, but I think you were not able to hear me.
That's so good that you joined back. Good that you joined back.
Just to add to what Ren has actually mentioned, see, Milind, I have always believed that you take your personal life professionally, take your professional life personally. That always works. I know there's a grin on your face, but when you think about that particular phrase, you will be able to relate to it, because these days, as Ren rightly mentioned, I think, people are not able to moderate hours. People just don't know, where to demarcate, where exactly is your, work is actually, getting over, what time is your, let's say your personal life is actually starting. But at the end of it, if you're good, you don't have to work beyond 8 hours. Trust me. Whatever work, probably pressure that you have, if you're really good about it, if you're really super efficient, and studies have actually shown this, that if you spend about 8 physical hours in an office, at the end of it, you are actually efficient or productive only for about 3 or 4 hours. But as compared to that, if you're really super focused, if you're sharp about your work, and if you really take your time and the investment that you do when it comes to work, I'm pretty sure that more than 8 to 9 hours in a day, you don't really have to work. The rest of the hours is actually yours. 8 hours of sleep and 8 hours of whatever that you want to do. It might be music, it might be your own mojo, it might be probably calling, it might be moderate drinking, it might be stepping out. And Ren was drinking. I hope, Ren, that is not a big of vodka or something.
No, that's not what.
Kaushik, one thing which I wanted you to, throw some light on is, and I would also like Steffi to talk about.
So may I interrupt here for a moment, please?
Yeah,
we
sure.
are at 3:06, and then we'll have to. We have only 20 minutes. We have the question of round, so we'll have to quickly go with the alumni talk, and then start with if it's okay with you, please.
Yeah, sure. No issues. So I will come back to you, Kaushik, with that one little question, which wherein I would invite your guidance for today's audience. But Steffi, could you throw some light on your experiences? I was intending to ask you.
Yes, hi all. I'm Steffi Ann, and just another proud alumni of ISC coaching. Having done my MBA in National Business and Finance, I hope I am audible to you. Am I not?
Yeah, sure. Please.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Yes. So I've done my MBA in National Finance and Business from ISC, which essentially led my way to ACCA, which was not even in my dreams, basically. So ISC just led me to ACCA, and all thanks to them for that. Having always been in spite of a life in one of the big fours, and I was very fortunate selected as an associate in AY Doha. So acknowledging every opportunity that ISC, ICC, has given me, and they've really empowered me, academically, personally, and professionally, and still continuing to do so. It's my pleasure and immense joy to be a part of this conversation here. And yes, I really appreciate everyone behind this to conduct this discussion in spite of all the difficulties that we are all facing. And I really appreciate that we're all still strong and going forward in this situation. So there are some of the points that I would like to address to the young aspirants here. So having started my career only like 9 months ago, being employed in one of the big fours actually completely changed my perspective of what technology is. I thought, like, when I was studying, like, Control C, Control V, and then Control Z, and then doing some presentation, my PowerPoint presentation, doing the editing, I thought I was good at it, but no. When I joined AY, it can completely change, and they just gave me a big data. Like, they took me to what is called as data analytics, where you are given 1 or 2 years of full entire transaction of the company, of your client, and then you were supposed to find which are the important transactions, and you have to test them. So it not only, need the knowledge of accounting and finance, but also, yes, we need this qualities like where you have to select those important data from those transactions, and you have to do the testing. That is one of the important things, and do procedures and things to finish your audit. The faster you do it, the more efficient you are. And not just for you, for your profession, but also like when you go to a client. Being an EY, you are actually open to all the big, huge clients in the big companies in the world, and those are your clients. So when you go to them, and they will introduce you to their sophisticated, complex software. And you need to have a sense of what they're saying, and you need to understand what they're saying, understand their systems and operations. To put this into a context, I can, after 2 months of me joining EY, I was taken to a client, and then there was some difference in the amount, and then I asked the client what this difference is about, and the client was trying to explain me that this is because of the forex difference, and this is because of their system. So the system usually gets updated every day with the forex rates. So initially it was difficult for me to understand. It did not make any sense to me, like how does this operate? I was bombarding them, and it took some time for me. So that's when I realized, okay, now I also need to be updated. And then so technology is one thing that I would really, really recommend all the young aspirants to follow. And then the second one would be communication skills, be it in your workspace or with your colleagues. You need to speak, and you don't have, be it in now, you don't, in this epidemic, you don't get to speak to your colleagues or your friends face to face. So all the video callings, all the team meetings that happens, it has to be productive. It has to be on the point, crisp. So just focus on your communication skills, be it the emails, be it speaking, be it whatever it is, just we need to develop on those skills. And yes, being in this industry, and now in every industry, learning never stops. Learning, it just never ends. So be it keep ourselves updated with the webinars, the e-learnings, the trainings that all those we have, and that's we enhance our knowledge in this era, and learning never stops. Yes, that's one point I want to make. So I think I talked about communication and learning, and then technology. Yes, and I'm pretty sure my friends there are also eager to share their point. That's it.
Milind, you're muted.
Thank you very much, Steffi. Now I would like to go to Mohammed Ramzi. Please unmute yourself and share your thoughts on the questions that I raised earlier.
Milind?
I'm not able to hear him yet.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. I think there is some problem with my connection. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's wrong with this.
No, now I can hear you. Go on.
Okay, yeah. So, one of the problems we are facing in this current scenario, like we will be in a current meeting and some people will be having the connection issues. So yeah, we all are used with that. This is the new normal. So answering that question about the soft skills we need to acquire, the students need to acquire. So we will be having all the knowledge, all the theoretical knowledge. So we also have to concentrate on our So the students also have to concentrate on their soft skills, so that they can express their knowledge into this business world, in the corporate world. So I think this is the correct exact time, so that we can sharpen our skills. As Rohan said earlier, we need to improve ourselves in the MS Word, especially in the MS Excel. So, and our communication skills and all those soft skills we need to develop by these kinds. And yeah, already I think all the students who are listening to this are already started ACCA. So I want to say to them is, you are already a step ahead in this race. So just improve your soft skills, make use of this opportunity, and go ahead. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. I think when the participants would hear from young ones who are just about their age, that makes a bit of a different impact than maybe me, Ren, and Kaushik, talking from 39,000 level feet, possibly. But Kaushik, just one point I would like you to, put some kind of analysis on before I hand over to Bindu for questions. Just Bindu, one little question, and that is, many corporates who are conducting the interview online are asking one question to every candidate, and that question is about ability to work remotely, ability to work offline. So how would you, advise the participants to prepare on that kind of a skill? Because so long, neither this skill was included in any qualification, whether it's academic or professional, neither this skill has been taught as such, because this requirement has not come at all. And now we hear that, okay, a company like, for example, TCS talking about more than 75% of their employees who would be permanently working offline from home. So how does one develop this skill?
Right. I think, Milind, first of all, thanks for making me realize that I'm old enough. With that, yeah, I mean, coming to the question, I think, working remotely, I think it's going to be the norm going ahead, Milind. Now, again, it comes to the fact that, what is that an individual is actually psyched about? What is that he's actually made up of in terms of his personality, in terms of his traits? Because I think what also happens is, Milind, in the current situation, by the time these students actually come out of, let's say, the theory or the theoretical world and actually get into the practice, there's a huge difference. There is a big differentiator, Now, what happens is, let's say if you're physically present next to somebody, communicating or probably telling or probably even saying out things is very easy, But being remote and then probably being a distant away, and then the only thing that is actually connecting us is technology today, and probably having a webcam and then talking to each other. If you are not precise, if you're not succinct, if you're not to the point, it becomes very difficult. I'll take a cue from what Sandeep actually said, because I have actually monitored his progress ever since he actually when we picked him up from ACCA campus to today. And I'm pretty sure Sandeep will also probably agree to what I'm saying right now, because where he was on day one to where he is today after about a year or so, I think there is a renowned probably grown leaps and bounces. One thing which you rightly mentioned in terms of communication not being something which is actually being born. It is something which needs to come, nurture itself, and then keep coming out over a period of time. Now that is going to be really of an essence. If you're not a good communicator, or at least if you don't attempt to do that, working remotely will be an issue. So let's say people, when you ask you questions, let's saying that you need to work remotely, it doesn't mean you straight away say an answer is yes. You need to qualify that statement with a substantial experience of yours, or probably you bring those traits to the table and say that yes, I have it in me to probably do this. Probably give a case study and say that yeah, I have been doing video chats with all my friends and fraternities back in the US or UK. It is just the same. But it is just that at the end of it, when you're working, when your focus needs to be actually on work, the only thing the employers are actually wary about today is the 8 hours that we expect, or the 8 or 9 hours that we expect people to actually clock, are they really dedicated to it or not? At least with the IT projects, it's a little easy because it is all deadline based.
Yes.
Because you talk about a project, you have a project plan, you know that you are being actually tracked, you know what is a task that is actually cut out. So honestly, we don't really bother today that whether a Sandeep is working today or not. But I will catch hold of him tomorrow when, let's say, on the date of the deadline, if he's not actually delivering, then I have a problem. So one needs to actually understand that be committed, be very sure about what communication is all about, and the whole access to email, because I think even the email communication these days is becoming a very informal way of communication. Now that is where yesterday we had a session internally in our office where there was a lot of actually stress on documentation. The fact that you and me will not be here today or tomorrow, the organization needs to actually continue. So I think these are the traits that one needs to actually probably imbibe. And again, it actually goes back to what we discussed about earlier. Because one is actually, let's say, your core subject, your subject matter expertise. The second is let's say the other fringe traits, the peripheries, like communication, which can be verbal, which can be written. But today, what is happening, just because you're not there in person to that, probably next to your customer, your colleague, or your contemporary, your body language is completely a miss today. You don't know what my body language is all about. You don't know what is my aura is. You don't know whether I actually rub in negativity on you, whether I come with a positive mindset. So that is where today the employees are really wary about saying that that question pops up. It's a little irritable question. I have asked myself. I have asked this in the interviews actually recently, saying that and you have actually caught me on the wrong side now. So I think these are the things that probably students need to actually be aware about. They need to actually work on this. And be aware about what is actually happening in reality. So I hope that answers your question, Milan.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone, for having participated wholeheartedly in this discussion and throwing light on many aspects, which I'm sure would do a lot of thought-provoking points that we have thrown at the participants today, and they would dwell upon that, think a lot, and start nurturing their own, career path in the same way. Back now to Bindu for if there are any questions. Thanks a lot from my own side.
Thank you, sir. Before moving on to the question, I would like to thank Mr. Kaushik for that insight on communication, because we have students here who will basically go and share it with their friends. That, Ramzi, you must be hearing it. Very important, isn't it? So maybe we should record this particular session and then just share it with the students. Thank you so much. And, Mr. Kaushik being, I would say, the prestigious campus placement partner of ISE, where a student gets placed and this year does not happen. So thank you so much, for you to having said that to the students who are hearing it from different locations of Kerala and other regions. So moving on to the questions, I would like to pose the first question from the audience to Mr. Ren Verma. So can we expect substantial increase in the outsourcing of accounting services by developed nations to India in the coming years?
Bindu ma'am, is that directed to somebody specific or how is it?
Mr. Ren.
Okay.
He's back.
Yeah, I can see him. Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Verma.
Yeah. I can.
Shall I repeat the question, please?
No. I got them. I had some technical challenges, but managed to unmute myself.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's a very good question, Bindu. So the post-COVID-19 pandemic world, or the new normal as we call it, looks quite unclear. But one thing is assured, like for GBS and shared service organizations, one thing is clear. Especially with these changes in the way of working, etc. The conventional wisdom and long-held orthodox processes have been challenged during this pandemic. This has affected many changes which may have led to better performance. So as the world eases restrictions, the new GBS and shared services normal is expected to boom in India. And it is estimated that nearly 45% of the organizations will outsource in the next 18 months. And India is definitely going to benefit. And so Indian accounting industry is one of the most dynamic, I would say, and competitive in the world, and also one of the most regulated. So it is estimated that about 30 to 50% of the costs when outsourcing, depending on whether the process are located locally or abroad. So organizations, especially post-COVID, will be under pressure to reduce their overhead costs, not only to increase their revenues, but for survival too. So businesses will need to be dynamic and stay up to date with the latest developments, and processes need to be adjusted in line with the new trends in the market. So there has been consistent increase in demand for finance and accounting outsourcing, particularly in Europe and the US. So volumes would continue to grow due to the rapid increase in global demand. So I was speaking to one of the employers just last week, and they do have a number of clients from US and Europe. He was saying he had to recruit additional staff in the past few months and had to increase the number of shifts to cope up with the demand and additional assignments that has come their way. So the answer to the question is a big yes. It is happening now, and the volume of business coming to India, especially in accounting and financial services, will go up. And however, it is important that we have skilled professionals to be able to cater to this demand. So the young generation, the youth, has to have the relevant skills that the employers are looking for. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we definitely see the light, not at the end of the tunnel, but at the start of the tunnel, I would say, going by what he said. Yeah, thank you so much. And the next question is to Mr. Sarvana. And Mr. Sarvana, I don't see Mr. Sarvana, so I'm going to pose this question to Milind sir. So during present uncertainties, do fair value assessments of investments and assets cause challenge to audit firms?
Oh, Bob, obviously that's a fantastic insight. In fact, if I look at the current scenario and try and relate it to various accounting and audit standards, I think there are 25-30% of the standards which mandate use of fair valuation of properties, fair valuation of employee stock options, fair valuations of employee benefits, fair valuation, in fact, of financial instruments, which is the biggest area. And these fair value techniques will be one of the essential parts of any audit assignment, especially during this period of uncertainty. Because if things are stable, fair valuation becomes a very, very easy exercise. In the periods of VUCA kind of a world, fair valuation becomes very, very critical. And therefore, auditors especially will need to gather these skills, and even experienced auditors, I would say, will have to go back to basics, go on the drawing board and look at the assumptions that have been made all these years into auditing the numbers of their clients. And fair valuation will also, in another way, affect the kind of a due diligence work that auditors carry out for mergers and acquisitions. Because in a business combination, the assets and net assets of the subsidiaries are to be fair valued. And it is that level at which the audit firms will have to, increase their bandwidth of understanding to make sure that they, come up with a fair assessment of the scenario. So I entirely agree. It's a great challenge that is being thrown at them, and they will have to gather a lot of, insights into the fair valuation techniques. In fact, there are a lot of guidances also issued by the professional accounting institutions. There are guidances issued by institutions like IASB, FASB, IFAC, So they will have to take all those guidances into account and build their own knowledge base for that. So that's the answer to the question.
Thank you, sir. So there is definitely a need for professional upskilling.
Obviously,
yeah.
obviously.
Thank you so much.
Obviously.
Yeah. The next question would be to Mr. Kaushik. Since future accountants need education and digital technology, is there a system in the major accounting and audit firms for continued education of accounting professionals?
I think it always has been, because I think in today's world, accountants and technology go hand in hand. And I think organizations have actually realized, as early as, let's say about 20, 30 years back, when slowly, let's say when Tally came in, and then Tally, slowly gave way to, let's say, accounting systems like QuickBooks. And then, we then actually, saw a surge in ERPs and supply chain and so on and so forth. So today, I think definitely there is a huge boost, and I think organizations have slowly started realizing that if they're not actually cut above in terms of technology, they will perish in no time. The case in point being, if you look at what happened to Kodak, if you look at what happened to Yahoo, if you look at even for that matter, let's say I don't know how many of the students know this, that when Facebook as well as Google had actually approached Yahoo earlier, but for some reason they didn't see the value. And today, where Yahoo is and probably where Facebook is for that matter. Similarly, you had in the early 2000s there was something called as Blockbuster, which was the erstwhile, when we were actually growing up. I'm pretty sure then as well as Milind actually are privy to this terminology. Blockbuster was the Netflix for us actually at that point of time. But when actually Netflix approached them, they just actually they would just shut the doors on them. So I think the organizations definitely understand what is that it takes to actually adopt to technology. They ensure that just adopting technology is not it. You need to ensure that your people also undergo that learning curve when it comes to technology as a fringe, as a trait, as as something, an added tool to your daily working. Again, the case in point being EY. I think one of the participants was actually from EY. EY, if I'm not mistaken, has got its one of the biggest investments in AI today, called as rapid process automation. So I think RPA is, these are all technology and tools, which actually the big five, the Fortune 500s are actually adopting. And I think it is only time that, let's say the lower rung of the pyramid, the SMEs as well as the SMEs, they're just waiting to pounce on it. Not that they're not doing it. Closer to reality from our perspective, I think Sandeep and myself and a lot of other, our other colleagues back in LabTech, we are actually doing a lot of actually innovation when it comes to IoT, AI, as well as machine learning. Purely from an ERP standpoint, because that is our core at this point of time. So having said that, I think if the organizations don't do this, they will perish. And in the bargain, what will happen is the people who actually are with them definitely will see a downturn at the end of it. So in my opinion, I think 8 or 9 out of the 10 organizations today are definitely realizing this, and they definitely actually ensure that they along with the top management, their mid management, and let's say the lowest rung of the executives, they are actually impressed with what is happening with technology, and there is a lot of investment which is happening from those companies' point of view as well. Yeah.
Thank you. So when the opportunity knocks, just grab it. That's what. That's great.
That's an adage. Yeah, right. Absolutely. That's an adage. Yeah, you need to be lunging on that.
Yeah. So being opportunist certain times, it's not. It's good. It's good in certain ways. So is Mr. Sharvana, he is logged in through the phone. So I was just wondering if you can hear us.
Yes, Bindu. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, sure. So can I pose a question, please?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So your question would be, in the post-COVID scenario, is it not necessary to change the norms to declare debts as bad debts in corporates?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. And in fact, ACCA has done a global survey on this when we have been working with organizations. First and foremost, as we have new students, I would like to tell them how a bad debt is considered in accountancy. Normally, we refer to bad debts as the debts which are irrecoverable. And it depends on how the organizations give that criteria of their spending or receivables, which are going to be bad. This is more of a subjective question. And most importantly, now this is becoming a challenge because this is, again, coming back to the challenges of post-COVID, which has become a very, apart from a health issue, has become as a huge financial catastrophe, which I mentioned earlier. So normally bad debts arises due to the number of reasons such as customer going bankrupt, trade dispute, or fraud. But now, as you rightly mentioned in the question, post-COVID, this COVID situation has given an uncertainty, and the norms has to be changed. So government is taking a lot of efforts in terms of providing how organizations can be supported so that the economies can be stabilized. So most of the governments are coming out with various measures, including temporary regulatory relaxation, such as loan moratoriums, liquidity support, which will definitely act as a catalyst for the economy to gather strength and aim to stand back on its feet both during and post the COVID-19 era. At this moment, this appears to be a work in progress by governments across the globe. And coming to the question now, how it should be, the bad debt should be done. Surely one of the ways is to extend the time, like whatever now some of the work is happening. And the norms has to be changed, especially there is some change which is happening in India and a few other countries as well, especially the recent regulatory reforms and the refurbished insolvency laws has breathed a new life in the insolvency regime and distressed assets here in the country. So the NPA may lessen in turn and give a new lease of life to the businesses of distressed assets. So there is work which is going on, and there is a sure need. Now we have to exclude this COVID period also, considering on terms of the bad debts, and the norms has to be changed, excluding the COVID, so that it gives opportunity for organizations to bounce back or clear their bad debts instead of going for a write-off straight away. And there is chance of risk also. Maybe I would request Mr. Milind and Koshi also to add to this, because being a subjective question, there are opportunities where most of the organizations may not be able to bounce back also. So, but for sure, the norms have to be changed so that the economies are able to strengthen themselves. And that is what governments are working on. I would invite both the experts, Mr. Koshi and Milind, to also add their points on this.
Thank you. That's a great learning to carry back home, I guess, and a lot of information. Thank you so much for that. Milind sir, you would like to?
No, I think, I think he has covered almost everything. But what these students need to understand from the practical point of view is the shift from actual loss to expected loss. And when you talk about recoverability of the assets that you reflect in the balance sheet, it is the recoverability aspect that needs to be always checked. And to that extent, the accounting standard has now been adjusted to provide for the unlikely debts that may be realized in terms of expected loss method. Of course, the COVID catastrophe is one of its kind, and therefore there may be some kind of a leeway permitted for the organizations. So it's actually a professional judgment that you would like to make use of. But at the same time, that judgment should not be just a rule of thumb. It has to be based on some strong evidence, and based on that only you would be, as an organization, in a position to assert yourself about the recoverability of any type of the asset, because these are the assets that are going to generate future economic benefits for your company, in the coming times. So you need to be very sure about it and faithfully present the story, your economic story, to your stakeholders. So that's what the students need to keep in mind when they get to analyze maybe certain assets as they join in organizations.
Thank you. Mr. Kaushik, would you like to allow and sum up, please? Yeah.
I think, just to add to what Sarvana as well as Milind said, I think these are the times where you realize the importance of accounting standards. So it's like
absolutely.
It couldn't have been a better time to actually apply those concepts and ensure that you have, as Milind said, you need to have a fair representation of the financial health of any organization. At the end of it, everybody knows accounting at the end of it is the health of the business, right? It is the language that that the business actually speaks. So I think taking a cue from that, it makes a lot of sense that what both Sarvana as well as Milind mentioned. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Mr. Ren, would you like to up on your thoughts? Yeah. Can't hear you. Anyways, okay. So moving on. So it's time for wrap up. Shall I? Is there anyone staying?
Yeah.
You have
I think we are already running out of time.
It's already 10 minutes. So thank you all for joining us today. We hope the future accountants have found the session very informative and engaging, wherein the moderator and the panelists have dealt with the topic in detail, covering almost all the major queries raised with your profound knowledge and industry experience. Thank you, panelists and the moderator. Thank you, alumni, for sharing your insights.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, insights
Thanks a lot.
showing. Thank you.
Showing
more light on
everyone.
your morning travel. Thank you, participants, for being with us this afternoon. Wish you all a great weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.